like to welcome you all to the user group meeting for, I don't know, what is it, June? Yes, June of 2023. In any case, hello to everyone, and we might as well jump right on in. And today it's going to be, Marc is going to talk about Amazon Security Lake and lots of things about that. So everybody pay attention, and I'll let him go ahead and take it. And when he's done, we'll have a couple of quick announcements and things like that. And other than that, let's just give it a listen. So Marc, take it away. I have no idea if you can steal control, but you can try. See what happens.
I will try. Should look good.
I'm seeing it. I'll mute myself so I don't make an annoyance out of myself, and off you go.
Okay, no worries. So I was invited to talk about Amazon Security Lake. About me, till about 6 months ago, I worked for a global healthcare company, and we were one of the early adopters of Cribl and everything in regards to SIEM and so on. And somehow I was missing the tool, and I got luckily the opportunity at AWS to be one of the liaisons with Cribl. So I can continue to work with my favorite team. And I want to also show a little bit today a presentation which Tony told me should not be too much of marketing. It needs to be more for the technical minded. So I'll speed through some slides, but the main goal of the presentation is I want to show how Cribl can be an addition to the Amazon Security Lake, how to get data into the Amazon Security Lake using Cribl, how to get data out of the Security Lake using Cribl, and what additional use cases I think are important for Cribl users in regards to the Security Lake. A short agenda, and Tony said go fast, so I did. So what are the key challenges with enterprise security data? So first of all, if you look on the AWS side, you have the challenge that you have inconsistent and incomplete data. Log data alerts are in different formats, scattered across all the organizations, different teams, different silos. It's hard to find them. The second challenge is the security data is growing by about 30% per year. So the volumes of security data means it's much more harder to manage them and also look to get the data into a place that you can analyze it. Inefficient use of data across use cases. You need sometimes specialized tools which can result in data duplication. As an example, you have a security data lake on AWS S3. Then you also send the data to your first SIEM tool of choice. That means you end up with the data twice. And sometimes you even have an XDR or SOAR tool, so you end up with the data a third time. And all those vendors want to have license fee, so it costs. That leads to the fourth problem, which I think is the lack of direct control over process data. If you use an S3 bucket as transit and you store it in the SIEM, the data is locked in the SIEM, and it will be much harder to get the data again out if you want to change your SIEM vendor of choice. Open Security Schema Framework, OCSF, I think August 22, AWS, Splunk, and a few other organizations have announced the OCSF framework to be public domain. So it's an open source project to deliver simplified security data. You will say, oh, there are already many other frameworks out there like MITRE and so on. Why yet another one? That security framework is pretty much targeted at analyzing of security log data. And that makes that framework much more interesting. Being open standard, and that came a little bit as a surprise to everybody, the adoption rate of vendors providing data in that standard is very high. What is a security lake? And again, Tony, very fast. A security lake in Amazon allows you to centralize data from AWS environments, but also SaaS providers, on-prem, and cloud sources across AWS regions. It allows you to optimize the security data for more efficient storage and query performance. Optimization in that context means pretty much caching and pre-processing. We also normalize the data in the OCSF standard. So an IP address will always be in the same field. You no longer need to worry where your source IP address is. Always in the same field name, even across multis. That means you can use some AWS tools, or you can use the vendors of your choice to look at the data and control the data. How does it work? In version 1, which was officially launched May 30th, the Amazon Security Lake consolidates the data of VPC, CloudTrail, Route 53, Amazon S3, and Lambda functions. It also consolidates all the event findings from AWS Security Hub and all the connecting services like GuardDuty, Inspector, IAM Analyzer, Macy, and some more. The data will then be centralized and normalized, and we use our data lake tools under the hood to do that. And the security lake is finally stored on an S3 bucket in a management account. Then you can query the data using Amazon Athena, OpenSearch, SageMaker, or your SIEM XDR tool of choice. Why security lake? As I said, it's integration of 60 data sources, normalization of AWS logs in OCSF. It stores on an S3 bucket. It allows regional data support. What does it mean? If you are in a company where compliance is of a requirement, like European data needs to stay in Europe, US data needs to stay in US, APAC, in APAC, the regional and roll-up support allows you to configure security lake in a way that EMEA data stays in a security lake in EMEA, US data in US, and so on. Data lifecycle management. One of the big challenge with security lakes or data lakes is you don't want to use fast and expensive storage unless you have to. Data lifecycle management means you can specify that data which is older than 30 days should no longer be stored in the Amazon Security Lake on fast storage. It should be archived on Glacier Instant Retrieval, which drops your storage costs by about 95%. And various analytics tools to choose from. Yes, you can still use your tool of choice as long as the vendor supports OCSF. The security lake partners Amazon currently has are many, and you see on the upper right side, we prominently place Cribl, but you also will find all the SIEM vendors, which are very popular, like Splunk, SentinelOne, and some others. The idea of the security lake is the moment a security lake is built, you can immediately query your data, and I show a few examples afterwards. What's happening under the hood? And the setup program creates an S3 bucket in a delegated management account or logging account. That's the destination of your security lake. It's enabled across all regions, account, and resources. And as I mentioned before, you can have one or multiple security lakes. If you only have one, we collect the data from all the regions, from all the accounts, and all the resources. Something I want to mention here, I say all resources or end resources. The goal of the security lake, it will be the single place where all the security log files of all AWS services will be stored over the next 18 months. So if you want to access a log file in 24, it will be in Security Lake. It transforms and partitions all incoming data to OCSF and Parquet format. Parquet format because it's highly compressed and again saves with storage requirements. It also creates the required AWS glue tables and partitions for caching and instant access. How can you bring in security data from your custom source? And I mentioned that because it's a bit more relevant for the Cribl side. You pretty much create a data source name, like my endpoint data. You give it an event class, and I mention later on what an event class is, because the event class comes from the OCSF framework. And there are about, I think, 28 defined event classes. And one, as an example, is process activity. One can be firewall logs. One can be window event logs, and so on. So you need to map pretty much the file you are importing into Security Lake to a certain event class. Subscriber, that's the other side. If you want to connect or read from the Security Lake, you pretty much say, I want to create a subscriber, like my theme. I tell what the tool has access to, or log files, or only a specific log file in event source. Because the theme tool needs to connect via an AWS service, it needs an AWS account ID and a unique external ID you need to create. That's done by Security Lake. And then comes the most important question: how does the tool want to access the data? Either via S3 or lake formation. And secondly, how does the tool want to be notified? Either we push the data to the tool, but then bear in mind that you duplicate the data, or you create a subscription endpoint, and the subscription endpoint pretty much means the theme tool of choice should read from the Security Lake whenever something is required. We can skip that. Choose your analytics. Those were the launch partners which we had when we launched Security Lake in October 22 at reInvent. During the official launch GA last week, I think still the same partners were the key partners. Pricing, I was told to skip that one, but mainly my message is today an AWS customer already has CloudTrail and log sources, and they're usually sent to a centralized logging account. If you use Security Lake, that cost will go away because we just replace it with Security Lake. The only cost, which in my opinion will be an add-on, is the cost for data normalization and optimization, which is in the bottom, which is the 0.035 gigabyte fee. Let's talk about Cribl. Where does Cribl help, and what are important use cases for Cribl? First of all, and thank you for creating the diagram on the Cribl blog. So Cribl Stream can have multiple roles. And the most prominent role is leverage Cribl Stream to get non-AWS log sources into the Amazon Security Lake. And Cribl can also be used to transform the data from the Security Lake in a theme solution of choice, which currently cannot be directly integrated with Amazon Security Lake. Use case number one. So leverage existing Cribl packs with support of OCSF to integrate non-AWS sources in the Security Lake. The current packs as of making the slides are CrowdStrike, Palo Alto Threat and Traffic Logs, Azure Audit Logs, GCP Audit Logs, Zscaler Web and Firewall Logs, Cisco ASA and FTD, and Sentinel-1 Cloud Funnel. That would mean that you use an existing Cribl pack, which was modified to normalize the data to OCSF and write in Parquet format directly to the Security Lake, and you would get the data in. You still have the option to build your own pipeline and pack to support the conversion of any log file. And what we are planning to do is there will be a blog article sometimes early Q3, which will give you step-to-step instructions how you can build a Cribl log pipeline, how to normalize the data, and how to test and make sure it works accordingly to write into the Amazon Security Lake. The third use case is read and filter from Amazon Security Lake and send data to any SIEM and XDR solution. This would allow Cribl Stream to be a subscriber, and Cribl Stream would no longer get notified of any data. You would write again an ingestion pipeline, but you would specify which data you would like to read from Security Lake. An example where that could be very useful. The Amazon Security Lake currently collects all VPC flow logs from all the connecting accounts where VPC flow logs are enabled. VPC flow logs, 85% of the data are accept statements, and only 15% of the data are reject statement. If you are in a SOC, you're not really interested in blowing up your SIEM with all the allow statements. You might want to normalize some of them. You want to have some extracts. You want to simplify the data. And that's where Cribl Stream can come into play and say, I want to have all the rejects and denies. And I want to just get an idea of the allowed traffic in my SIEM. By doing that, that allows you to save an additional probably 70% just of your VPC flow log data. And your people which run your SIEM tool will be happy because their license will not explode. I also want to mention the most recent Cribl block, which is stated on the slide just for reference. And how to get started with Security Lake. There will be 3 QR codes, which I share with the slides at the end. So you can try out Security Lake for 15 days at no cost. And we all know Cribl Cloud is free for up to 1 terabyte. So I don't need to tell you how to get access to Cribl Cloud. Just use it and enjoy it. That was the first part, and now time-wise, I'm good, 20 minutes in, so I want to show a few little things in my browser. So the first thing is I mentioned the OCSF event types, and if I look at the OCSF framework, the biggest challenge we all have, and that's not only AWS, that's all the vendors, is how do you map a log file, as an example, a syslog file or any other application log file to OCSF? And you see on my slide, there are, on my web page, there are many, many classes. And unfortunately, you need to find for now exactly which event type matches to which activity. And you will see network activity event type 4001 is one which is very commonly used in Cribl packs. but you can also see that there are other ones which are very relevant. And picking which event maps to which framework event type and how do you normalize the data. That's what I think the power of Cribl comes in, because you have the flexibility and the granularity to map every event very easily, like from this source field in the source stream, you want to map it to OCSF event type 4001, and then the field needs to be named like this. That operation using Cribl Stream is very easy to be done. Now comes the challenge. How does the oh, that was too much talking. Just a moment. I need to get back in. So let's look at my, yeah, we have the fun at Amazon that we can play with a lot of data. So how does a security lake really look like? You have a bucket called AWS Security Lake in the region where you want to consolidate all the data. The bucket has two structures. You have the AWS structure. The AWS structure gives you data of what is currently collected in security lakes, where SH findings consolidates the security hub findings. And as an example, VPC flow, you see that's our production release. It sees, it consolidates the data from the regions, and then you see the accounts it's collecting the data from, the day, and in the day you have all the Parquet files which are the raw data for that given day. If we look at the same on Athena, and in Athena, you see that I mentioned the glue tables before. All the log sources are available as a table on the left side in Athena. So you can query the data directly. And if you want to learn a different query language than the Cribl query language, go ahead. But you can also query the data then natively, directly into Athena, and you get the results underneath. Also, Networks gives you direct access. Something we like is we have been spending a lot of time to get some sophisticated dashboards with OpenSearch dashboards. And we have shared as part of our GitHub repository also the OCSF dashboards. And yes, I'm probably logged out. So let's try again. And if I go in the dashboards, you see that we provide all the non-OCSF log dashboards now in OpenSearch. But the ones I want to show you are the cloud activity ones. And I need to be absolute, and I need to go a week back because I broke my integration. But I still felt I should show you at least how such a dashboard would look in a native AWS service without any SIEM tool behind. So OpenSearch in that case reads directly from the Amazon Security Lake. I mentioned Cribl before, so I mentioned the event classes. So if you look at the Cribl documentation, you currently see the following data sources are currently supported by Cribl Stream directly out of the Amazon Security Lake. And I think it's no longer pending, it was published. So that gives you some idea. It also shows you that sometimes the event types are mapped to different event types. And the moment you have client data, you also map to client data event types. And what I wanted to show at the end is you can also use Cribl search to query directly the security lake. And in this case, I queried the Route 53. And I just did a very basic query to give me 1,000 results. But you can see that you can also leverage Cribl search to query inside the security lake. And the fields are passed automatically without you needing to do anything because of the glue tables. And I think that was everything I wanted to show. Cool. Any questions?
Oh, great. Let me check the chat window too. See if there's any new ones. Facts available.
I tried to be fast, Tony, so.
Oh, that was great. And we're all nerds here. We can like absorb stuff. It'll work.
Didn't have to play at 1.5 speed like I do with every other podcast I listen to.
Right. Anybody have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself and jump right in. I see no unmuting happening. Ooh.
Mark, how long does it usually take to set up? It looked like it was only a few steps. Is it typically that easy?
So let's give a political correct answer. In 95% of all the cases, it's pretty much 3 steps, and then you wait about 15 minutes for all the S3 buckets and everything to be created. And the S3 buckets then replicate to a central S3 bucket in your management account. The 5% where the cases where it doesn't work is Security Lake uses an AWS delegated admin function. So you need to create a delegated admin account. If you have never done that, you might need more than 5 minutes. The second point is the installation process of the Security Lake allows you now to pick an existing organizational cloud trail or to create a new organizational cloud trail for that purpose. That's a design question you need to answer. If you don't have an organization cloud trail, Security Lake will not install. Those are the only 2 things, but the whole setup process is, I would say, very fast.
Perfect. And there was, can one send data from SIM solutions to XDR solutions and vice versa? Or better, can they interact with each other inside the security lake?
So a lot of this is dependent on what our partners are doing, because as you have seen, we have the possibility to notify on security events, or a partner can query the security lake. When I worked on implementing a source solution in Security Lake just to see how it works, I had to pretty much use the API to query the data myself to find the data I was interested in, read it, and then let the source solution process the response and take an action. So my source solution at the end was using a Lambda function in AWS to block an IAM user which tried too often to log in. So we provide the framework, but pretty much it depends on the third-party vendors, how far the level of integration is going. Again, that's an area, since last week, I think there were about more than 30 blog posts of vendors, how you should integrate their solution with the security lake. Try to see if the vendor you're using is part of those blog posts, and if not, reach out to me and I'll find you an answer.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, looks like that is most of the questions that I see. Unless anybody else wants to jump in, you can just interrupt me as I start moving on. Next on the agenda is, actually, we don't really have an agenda, so it's fine. Next up, though, would be announcements. And obviously there's, some shindig happening and thing going on next month. I think we're supposed to hear a little bit about.
Erin, you wanna
You go for it. Yeah, next month we're doing it. Go, Tony.
Yeah, so we're excited to have CriblCon, a full day of Criblness going on with all the goat jokes and bad humor that is typical for us. We'll start on Monday and with some breakfast, go through some keynotes. We get to hear directly from the founders and learn their visions and their thoughts. Then we start going into some actual breakouts where we get to listen to our customers and our engineers. So it's definitely for the a value for the nerds of us in the crowd. I was excited. I got to listen to one of the talks, and I mean, how many talks do you know that have the discussion around an awk command? So it's pretty awesome. And then we end the night with the Herd Baloo, our happy hour, where we will all gather together and have some fun. It'll be a surprise for y'all. It's some fun activities that night that should be fun. Plus, get to see each other. But we'll also be in Vegas the most of the rest of the week through Thursday. So if you have questions, you can come talk to our engineers, and we got whiteboards for us to help you do designs and answer questions. Or if you want to learn more about different aspects of the community, I'll be there waiting for everybody to talk to. Chris, Erin, anything else I missed?
And epic hands-on labs that'll bend your brain a little on building some pipelines.
Yeah, you don't just sit and listen to us. You actually get to interact.
Yeah.
Cool
stuff. Yeah. And then, of course, I don't know if this is exciting to everybody else, but I think it's exciting, hopefully, to y'all. But everybody has access to search today via Cribl Cloud. So if you haven't played with it, you can go check it out. And there's a lot of, but we'll have more supported places that you can search. So that's going to be exciting. So you'll be able to see that and try that hands-on too when we get there. So lots of good stuff, great customer presenters. And as Tony said, it's not just like case studies. It's how do you set up a Redis server? How do you get metrics to populate dashboards? How do you modify your security detection content based on cleaned up data? So it's real meaty stuff that hopefully you can take back and apply in your organization, not just goofy stuff. But there'll probably be goofy stuff too.
So whatever it is, it'll be interesting and fun, I'm sure.
We'll have fun. We'll have fun. We will have fun.
And you guys are setting up shop for the whole week, even though CriblCon's just to one day. Is it all going to be in the same location? Are you going to shift partway through or anything like that?
Yeah, same place. It'll be, it might be a different room, but it's still going to be in the Mirage Conference Center. But yeah, so the idea is if folks are in town for something else that week, then they can still just drop by as they have time to check out demos, do those architecture conversations, whiteboards, all that stuff, and then just hang out. I think our plan is to have like a coffee, gourmet coffee cart thing.
Good,
So
to say good coffee, not conference coffee.
good coffee, not conference
Nice.
coffee. So if you need a little breather, need to get invigorated, it's really just I think it was pitched as like a 12-minute walk from the Venetian Conference Center. I'm sure your mileage may vary depending on what session you're in before, but it is just right across from the Venetian. So it's as quick as you can get from point A to point B in Vegas.
Right.
It's across the street. So come on by, hang out with us. We're hoping to bring back the days of just chilling together, looking at each other's laptops, sort of showing off what the cool stuff folks have done lately.
Cool. That sounds great. Sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Are there any other announcements we need to be making, or is this one the big one? And that's about it.
I'll say if you're like me and know that the docs team does some amazing work, I posted an announcement today that they're looking to have people, give 15 to 20 minutes of their time and speak with our docs team to see how they can make things better for you. I don't know how, but they're going to try. They're already pretty much top notch, so they want to make sure they stay that way. And of course, Jenny, who has the best online name, Jenny from the docs, is leading that effort.
Cool.
So if you can either ping her directly or put a reply into announcements or the docs channel to let her know to have some time scheduled with someone from her team, we can help make docs even better.
Alrighty. So I think the magic moment is here. Not quite as magical as next July, but
Can I say one more thing? Sorry.
yes.
I think, and Desi, call me out on this, but like all of Marc briefly touched on it, but for those that are interested in Amazon Security Lake, we've just kind of updated many of our packs. Marc listed them out, but many of the packs have been updated to include OCSF support. So that's pretty cool if you're looking for kind of, if you're looking to play with Amazon Security Lake, many of the packs that we have for many common data sources have been updated with that OCSF framework support. So you can go check that out and play around with it.
All right. Well, I believe that then brings our meeting to a close. So next week, we'll try the middle one next month. Next month, do we have one, or is this going to coincide with CriblCon?
It would be the week before CriblCon.
The week before. We should have probably discussed beforehand we're going to have one, but I suspect we will. So I see no reason not to have this leading up to CriblCon. So I am looking for speakers to present on any topic. It could be as nerdy as you want. It could be as not nerdy as you want. You can also be kind of short, kind of long. We're pretty easy here, and I am available to give at least some minor help in building a couple of PowerPoint slides if you need them and don't want to fool with that yourself. We love demos though, demos and live stuff where you click on things and break them. Love that stuff. So if anybody has any ideas or would like to volunteer, get in touch with me. Just DM me. I am Rich. What am I on Cribl? I don't know. You can find me. I'm here. I'm around. Yell at me or Tony or even Erin and get in touch with us and we'll figure something out. Other than that, adieu until next month.
Yeah. Register for CriblCon if you haven't.